Welcome to the Abu Show. I'm your host, Abu. What should we talk about today? Well, first I want to apologize for not releasing episodes recently. Life and stuff, you know how it gets. Let's see. Have you guys heard the one about the chicken and the egg? Raise your hand if you know somebody with a podcast. If you're watching this video, your hand is probably up. That's kind of the amazing thing about podcasts. They're new and accessible and exciting, and there aren't many rules yet. But that also means that there are a ton of bad podcasts out there. A lot of shows that sound like the Abu Show. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, you're watching the right video. I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to get started. And I've enlisted the help of some friends. You might have heard some of them on your favorite shows.
I love radio. It's my favorite medium of all time. I think it just does something that other forms cannot do.
You should be focusing on the content.
They always say, like, if you're truly passionate about something, like, the rough parts of it should also be exciting to you.
Don't panic. That's the first thing.
Do the thing you enjoy doing.
And so the closer you can get to the person's voice, the better.
In this two-part series, I'm going to go over everything from coming up with your show idea to recording and mixing and sharing it with the world. So let's get started. Through my own experience as a podcaster and my discussions with experts in this video, I've come up with a checklist of 5 things you should do before you ever release a single episode of your podcast. Let's start with the most important one. So first things first, you gotta do some soul searching. Why do you want to get into podcasting?
I think first you have to ask yourself why this thing should be a podcast. Like, do you just want to be a podcaster? Or is the thing that you're trying to make something that doesn't exist and should exist?
Misha made an amazing free resource about how to make a podcast that I'll link below. In it, she has this list of questions you should ask yourself to really figure out if your brilliant idea even makes sense as a podcast. Ultimately, though, it comes down to just being excited about your idea. Podcasting is a labor of love, and people do it because they're passionate about something or they have a story to tell. And those should be your reasons.
One of the things about podcasting is it's an infectious medium. And if you care about it, it comes through and other people start to care too.
So I think that's part of why we are able to have an audience and maintain that audience, is because they hear our enthusiasm and they kind of want to be a part of that.
Your passion and expertise is what will bring in listeners, and no one knows that better than Nichole and Bim, 2 of the most entertaining hosts I've ever listened to.
Let me tell you something, free of charge. If you roll up your shirt sleeves and reveal to me a hairy forearm or 2, well,
with a nice watch.
That level of charisma doesn't always come naturally, and it takes a lot of work.
For the 7th time. Professional.
So once you've come to terms with why you want to start a podcast, you're ready to actually make it. Okay, cool. We've established that you're not here for the non-existent fame or money. You have a story that you're itching to tell, or you're passionate about a certain topic. Time to grab a mic and start recording, right? No.
I think the first question that you really need to ask and answer is this a commitment you can keep up? Because it is a commitment.
And Josh Clark would know a thing or two about commitment. His podcast, Stuff You Should Know, has been in production for over 10 years, and it's one of the first podcasts to cross 1 billion downloads. Like anything creative, podcasts are a lot of work. You have to be ready to commit a large amount of time and effort and potentially money. So be sure you're ready for it.
It's actually a lot of work to prepare for an episode. People think we just go in and talk to each other and leave, but that is not the case at all. I think that we could quantify it and say that it is a part-time job, at least.
All right, the existential stuff is out of the way. You are stoked about your podcast idea and you are ready to put the time in. Now what?
We sat down and had a couple of meetings about, like, what is the show about? What are we doing?
Jeffrey Cranor is the co-creator of shows like Welcome to Night Vale or Within the Wires, some of my all-time favorite fiction podcasts. He uses this analogy that I really, really love.
I use a lot of cooking analogies when I talk about, like, making art, but I think it's very similar, which is, I mean, there's no recipe like there is in baking for podcasting, but you do know the tools you need.
And that's what you have to figure out next. The recipe for your podcast. The what, the when, the who. What is your show about? When and how often will you release episodes? And who's your audience?
I think the first thing to think about when you're starting a podcast is who's the audience. And from that question, it'll point you in all these other interesting directions about like what kind of microphones you're going to choose, or what do I want the show editorially to sound like.
You should also do some competitive analysis. Poke around and look for similar shows in your space or your genre. What's working for them? What could they be doing better? These are your fellow cooks in the kitchen, and it's always a good idea to know your peers. Now, once you know your recipe, it's time to get cooking. So let's talk gear. But first, a quick caveat from Brendan Baker, who co-directed Marvel's Wolverine podcast and has been described to me as an audio engineering wizard.
I think if you're just starting out, you shouldn't let the tools and the engineering get in the way of making the thing.
Now, before you start blowing up the comments about why one mic is better than another or why you need some expensive audio interface, just keep in mind that it's not about the gear. It's about making the thing you're passionate about.
It's way more important to be good than to have good audio.
Right.
Like I could listen to a lot of things. If they have spark and life in them and they're telling me something, they really can be recorded on tin cans.
So here's what I'll say about gear. Buy a microphone you can afford, buy some acoustic panels, and get a nice pair of editing headphones. Here is a list of some recommendations that won't break the bank. That's all you really need. And honestly, the most important thing on this list is the acoustic panels. Choosing a space to record and making sure that it's acoustically treated is way more important than buying some fancy, expensive microphone.
I think the first thing I learned that you just don't think about if you've never done audio before is how different room sounds are.
You want to find the space and you want to basically deck it out with the best sound baffling stuff you can afford.
Okay, you're finally ready to record. You got your gear, you did your homework, and you have a game plan. Now comes the fun part, making a bunch of bad episodes.
You can't ever make it perfect or you'll drive yourself crazy. So you're going to put out episodes of things that are not good until you get to a point where they are good. Like, give yourself some time to get good at it. Make pilots, make things you don't necessarily release.
This is the part that so many people get wrong. They put out into the world the very first thing they record, and it's bad. Of course it's bad. Nobody nails it on their first try. So record some test episodes that no one but you and your closest friends and family will ever hear. Use these episodes to get feedback and to practice and learn.
Once you start recording, you should probably go by the rule of thumb that you need 5 to 10 episodes, because not all of them are going to be useful, because you're kind of still figuring out the format as you're going along, even as you're recording. So maybe say if you record 10 of them, half of them can be your first 5 episodes.
So let's recap. Say, for example, that I want to start a Simpsons podcast. First, I should know why I want to make it. The reason I need to make this show is because I'm a Simpsons fan named Abu, and my show will be about the character Abu and how it ruined my life. And that's a story that needs to be told. My plan is to fly around the world interviewing other people named Abu who also have strong feelings about Abu. Second, I should consider the commitment. Flying around the world will be expensive and time-consuming. Let's say I just won the lottery and money isn't an issue. And I work in media, so I could lose my job any day now. So time isn't an issue either. Third, I need to figure out the recipe for my show. I think I'll release an episode every week, and it'll be an Abu on Abu interview-style show. The audience will of course be Simpsons fans, but really it'll be people who hate Abu. Fourth, I'll need gear. I need to make sure it's lightweight and sturdy, since I'll be doing a lot of traveling. For the rest, I'll just sneak into our studio here. At least until I lose my job. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. And finally, I should do some pre-interviews and record some test episodes. Maybe there aren't interesting Abus out there with strong feelings about Abu. Maybe an interview isn't the way to go and I should just have my subjects submit audio diaries. I won't know until I try it. So that wraps up part 1 of this series. In part 2, I'll go over things like some advanced recording techniques, how to work on your vocal performance, and the importance of editing. If you have any questions, please drop a comment below and I will do my best to answer. And keep an eye out for The Abu Show, because it's coming to a podcast platform near you. Any day now. I just gotta do the things on the checklist, all 5 of them actually. I gotta write shorter scripts.